lesson objective. So our lesson objective for today is that we will compare two fractions with the same numerator. That's really important today. We're going to be comparing fractions with the same numerator. Okay, so before we get into that, let's go over some of our vocabulary. So a quick review of last lesson's word, compare. So what does it mean to compare? To determine similarities or differences, so things that are the same and things that are different between two or more objects. So over here, our similarities and differences, we have a Venn diagram between our red triangle and our blue square. So everything that's on this side is our differences, right? So we have acute angles, we have 4 right angles on our square, we have 3 equal sides on our triangle, 4 equal sides in our square, and our triangle is red and our square is blue. So those are our differences, but our similarities are the things that are the same. So the same things are that they both have straight lines and that they're both closed shapes. All right, fantastic. So now let's go on to our next word. Our next word is fractions. And so this has been one that we've gone over a few times, but let's go over it again. So a fraction is a number that shows a part of a whole or part of a set. So a really important thing to remember about fractions is that it's not a whole thing. It's just a portion of it. So it's either a part of a set or it's part of a whole. Like right here, we have parts of a whole, and right here we have parts of a set that are shaded in blue, right? And then the other important thing to remember about fractions is that each of our pieces, each of our portion has to be the same size. If it's a different size, then it can't be a fraction. Or if it's a measuring, it has to measure the same amount, right? So that's really important about fractions. All right, now let's do a quick review of what a denominator is. So remember, our denominator is the number that's on the bottom number of a fraction that shows the number of equal parts in a whole. So over here, our denominator is 4. That's telling us that this circle is being cut into 4 equal pieces. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go on to our new word. So our new word for today is numerator. So a numerator is the top number. So the numerator is the top number in a fraction that shows how many parts of the whole there are. So our denominator tells us how many parts our whole is being cut into. So denominator says that we have 4 equal pieces. Our numerator is our top number. In this case, it's the 3 right here. That's telling us how many of those pieces that we have, or in this case, how many of those pieces are we shading. So we are shading in 1, 2, 3 out of our 4 pieces. So our numerator is 3. And our denominator is 4, so our whole fraction is 3/4. Okay, so remember, numerator is on the top, denominator is on the bottom. All right, fantastic. Okay, so now let's go ahead and compare some fractions. So over here we have 1/8. So remember, our denominator is 8, so that's telling us how many pieces our whole is being cut into. So our whole is being cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, right? So that is that's our fraction. It's being cut into 8 pieces, right? Now, our numerator is going to tell us how many of those pieces do we have, and I'm going to represent that by going ahead and coloring it in. So I have 1/8, so I'm going to color in 1 of those 8s, right? Because our numerator is telling us how many of those pieces that we have. Fantastic. All right, so now let's look at our second fraction. So our second fraction, the denominator is telling me, okay, I'm going to cut this into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, right? So we have 4 pieces right here. Our numerator, which is our number on the top, is telling us how many of those pieces I have. And in this case, I have 1, right? So I have 1 right here. So in both of these examples, our numerator, our number on the top, is the same. Now we got to go ahead and look at these fractions, and I'm going to go ahead and write it right here. So I have 1/8 and 1/4. Okay, what I want you to do is go ahead and pause this video and see, can you figure out which fraction is larger and which fraction is smaller? All right, go ahead and pause this video and meet me back when you are done. All right, welcome back. So let's go ahead and look at our 2 fractions. So I have 1/8 right here and 1/4. I can see that from both of these fractions that 1/4 is greater than 1/8. So 1/4 is greater than 1/8 because that's a bigger portion. That's a bigger piece, right? So our comparison statement says that 1/8 is less than 1/4. All right, fantastic. Great job. Let's go on to our next example. So our next example is 2/3 and 2/4. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. So when we compare fractions, our bottom number, our denominator, tells us how many pieces our whole is being cut into. So our denominator is telling us that my whole is being cut into 3 pieces, 3 equal pieces. So let's go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3, right? Exactly. So that matches our denominator. Now, our numerator, our number on the top, is telling us how many of those pieces do I have. So let's go ahead and shade in our pieces. So our numerator is telling me, okay, I have 2 equal pieces. So let's go ahead and shade that in. So I have 1 and 2. Fantastic. So I have 2 of my thirds shaded in. Let's look at our second fraction. So we have the same numerator, right? So we have 2 and 2 of those pieces. But this time our whole is being cut into 4 pieces. That's because that's what our denominator is telling us. So let's go ahead and make sure we have our 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. Have those. So let's go ahead and shade in our 2/4. So there's 1/4 and there is 2/4. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and have you do the same thing. I'm going to write this right here. I have 2/3 and 2/4. Pause the video and see if you can figure out which one is greater than and which one is less than, okay? And finish your comparison statement and then come back when you're done. All right, go ahead, pause your video. I'll see you in a little bit. All right, fantastic. Welcome back. So let's go ahead and look at our fractions. So we have 2/3 and 2/4. So looking at this, all right, I can see that the 2/3, that is a larger portion than my 2/4. So 2/3 is greater than 2/4. All right, fantastic. Great job. Let's see if one more thing before we go on to our closing statements. So, one thing to remember is the bigger the denominator, our number on the bottom, the smaller the pieces. Now that can seem kind of confusing, but let's go ahead and take a look at our chart right here. So right here I have 1 piece. That's our whole. The pink is our whole, right? And then I went ahead and took the same size holes and I cut them up into 1/2 and 1/2. So look, 1/2 is smaller than 1 whole, right? So I'm seeing that getting smaller. Now, what would happen if I cut my whole into 4 pieces, right? That 1/4 is smaller than 1/2 and even smaller than 1 whole. Now, what would happen if I went ahead and cut that whole into 8 pieces? That 1/8 is smaller than 1/4, which is even smaller than 1/2 and smaller than 1/8. So what I'm noticing is as my denominator, my number on the bottom, is getting bigger, my pieces are actually getting smaller because I'm cutting them into smaller pieces. So it's like saying if I had a pizza and I cut it into 1/2, that's a much bigger piece than if I were to cut my pizza into 8 pieces and only eat 1/8. Right? So when we're looking at comparing fractions and we're looking at denominators, we want to make sure that we're looking at the size of the piece. So the bigger the denominator, the smaller our pieces are. Okay? All right. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and see if we met our objective for today. So our objective for today is that we compared 2 fractions with the same numerator, right? Ooh, why aren't you writing? Let me see. Oh, it turned off from me. Sorry, guys. And my lights turned off. All right, we'll get there later. All right, so today we compared 2 fractions with the same numerator. So fantastic. Great job today. Go ahead and finish your activity and come see me when you're ready for your exit ticket. Have a great day. Bye.